In this video, we'll learn to use the backdrop image tool to essentially open a picture like a JPEG or a BMP or a PNG image and make that part of the background of your screen so that you can use it to trace or create embroidery from. Over here on the left is the tool for the backdrop tool. And there's more than one way, I guess, to open a backdrop, and this will be your main way. When you click on the backdrop tool, it allows you to browse your computer. It can open up any of these different image types, so mainly the BMP, the JPEG, the PNG are the kind of main backdrop images that we work with, but you simply select that image and say open, and it'll become part of your workspace, and it's selected so I can click and drag to move it to any location or use the corner handle to resize that image. I also can use the properties box to interact with its size. If I had a specific size that I wanted it to be, I could use the box to change it. I can also use the box to rotate it to a specific angle. I can also use the box to make it lighter or darker to kind of, if that helps you. But the idea is that you can interact with your image as much as you want, and visually you can use the handles to do this or resize it or whatever it is. But when you're happy with your backdrop and you click on any other tool in the workspace, it lets go of the backdrop and it's no longer something that you can select. It's like just simply part of the background. And if you look, closely at it, like really closely at it, you'll be able to see that it's really just an image that's made of pixels, and it's now sort of sitting in your background, and you could trace over it or use your magic wand tools with it. But the idea is if you wanted to select it or change it again, you would click back on that backdrop tool, and then it would reselect your backdrop and allow you to move it, or i.e. change it. Now, if I right click over top, while it's selected, if I right click, I get a menu with other things that I could do to the backdrop. So I've got define horizon and define scale. So that's a 2-click method. If I choose define horizon, then I can click once and twice to sort of set what's straight. So if you knew that you wanted the sort of mouse to be perfectly balanced, you could click once and drag to the other side of that mouse, and then when you let go, it'll rotate the picture to make whatever your 2 clicks were the horizon line. And the same thing if you right click and choose define scale. Now if you click once and then let go, it will measure that distance, and it tells me that that's 1.6 inches across. And if I change that to be 2 and say okay, it will resize the image so that from this side of the mouse to that side of the mouse is 2 inches across. Right click again, load backdrop. Well, this is how you can change your backdrop. So you can only have one kind of backdrop at a time open. So if you want to change it, just right click and choose load, and you can change to a different image. If you right click and choose delete, that will remove the backdrop from your workspace. If you choose Twain Scanner, that will actually interact with the scanner. If you have an actual scanner connected to your computer, you could capture the image with your scanner. Edit backdrop, we'll make a separate video about this, but the idea here is that if you click on edit backdrop, it's going to open up in another program that's not Floriani, whatever you use, Microsoft Paint or Photoshop or CorelDRAW. These are all options, and so we'll do a video, but the idea is you could choose edit backdrop, and then it would kind of pop into your editing program with that image, and when you were done, it would update on your workspace, is what that's about. And finally, properties, and that is simply what are the properties of your backdrop. And so once again, when you're done using the backdrop tool, you can click on any other tool to kind of let go of the backdrop and start using the other tools. And so I also wanted to point out the show and hide backdrop tool down here. So that one simply hides it on and off again, and you'll know when it's brightly colored orange, it's turned on, and if you click on it again, it's not turned on, and so it's not colored orange. So that's a show hide for your backdrop. Another way to open a backdrop is simply to click on the open button at the top of the workspace, and that'll allow you to browse. And of course, now you can open any kind of formatted design, whether it be vector artwork or whether it be embroidery designs or anything, images, JPEGs. So I can open the design for the Happy Face JPEG. The difference here is when I open it, it opens a new design just for that image, with that image as the background. And of course, you can still click on the backdrop tool and interact with it, but the idea is that you, when you already have a design open, so if I open a new workspace and it has no backdrop, I can add a backdrop to this workspace by clicking on the backdrop tool, versus when I click open, and when I click open, I can select a backdrop and it'll start a new workspace just for that sort of image. And that's how I got this one with the Happy Face all by itself. One more way to open a backdrop would be to come over to your backdrop tool over here, and you have your backdrop library. And this is simply a gallery of backdrop images that came with the Floriani software, and you can browse through all of those and then find the image that you want to open and select it, and then that will open that image. So that's a little bit more about backdrops using the Fusion software.